If you're longing for a relationship or longing for literally anything causes you unnecessary suffering, then you are not living in an authentic and aligned way. Hello world, and welcome back to my channel. Angels, baddies, and bitches. I welcome you to my YouTube, where I talk about being hot and having fun. This is also available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as a podcast. Friend Christ with Amber Killer. And yeah, cute, chaotic, and critical thinking. Follow me on all the things: Instagram, TikTok. Today's episode/video is about being a lover girl. I was on live a few weeks ago and we were talking about decentering men, as we tend to do. A completely different topic that I need to get into in more detail, but for now I have an episode where I talk about decentering everything. You could start there. Anyway, we're talking about decentering men, and then one of the girls was saying that she feels like she's grieving her younger self, this lover girl. She felt like she had to kill the lover girl inside of her. And I said that you don't have to kill the lover girl inside of you. I think a lot of women, most people, regardless of their gender, have a desire to love and be loved. This is an innate part of being a person, and I think that capitalism, consumerism, wedding industrial complex, image crafting culture, social media creates the illusion of having to optimize everything, how everything has to look a certain way in order to feel a certain way, when I think in reality, you know, the same way that we talk about beauty really coming from within, that's what love, that's what joy, that's what happiness comes from. It comes from inside of you, and then it projects outward. Like true, deep in your core, cellular level happiness comes from inside, not from outside. Even if it's you exerting your energy in a way to curate something outside of you, which then gives you a sense of joy and contentment, that's come from within. It's not everything else around you changing in order for you to then feel good. It's how are you adjusting the way that you respond to the world around you, and then allowing yourself to enjoy the moment and enjoy your lived experience. So I said that I feel like I'm a lover girl, even though I talk about decentering men and decentering romance. I think that romance and men have a place in my life, but they are not at the center, they're not at the core. And there's no reason for you to completely reject male attention or to reject romance and relationships or the part of you that wants those things. But how can you develop an awareness of that part of you and retrain her in a way that allows you to be hot and have fun at the same time? If you're longing for a relationship or longing for literally anything causes you unnecessary suffering, then you are not living in an authentic and aligned way. You know, you are not being hot and having fun. It will not be hot and fun for you if the place in which you pursue anything in your life, especially a romantic relationship, comes from one of lack, comes from one of I need this external thing in order to feel good, versus how can I feel good about myself and my experience, and how can I share that with other people so that when I do connect with someone, it's authentic, it's meaningful, and I can be more discerning in what is and isn't compatible for me, you know, because the more you love yourself and the more you are able to share that with others, the more people want access to that. They want to be part of whatever it is you have going on. And just because someone wants to be a part of it doesn't mean it's truly compatible with you and where you're at and what you have to offer and what you're looking for. You also need to exercise discernment in how you share that. So you don't need to kill the lover girl inside of you. You just need to retrain her. You need to mature. The same way that you don't act the way a 4-year-old does, the way an 11-year-old does. You don't want to think about relationships the way a 4-year-old does or the way an 11-year-old does, because her frontal lobe fully open, not even a little bit closed. So for you to be taking a fantasy of an 11-year-old and trying to apply that into a real life relationship, you've got to have this romantic relationship take place in the real world, not just in your head. So that lover girl needs to be retrained. And I think that it's in a way by design that you are not given the tools and resources explicitly to understand and to do that kind of work, because it's beneficial to capitalism for you to feel like you're in a constant state of lack. for you to feel like if only you bought this thing, or you knew this person, or you achieved this outside thing, you will be whole. Okay, but you are whole just by virtue of being a person. You have inherent value just by existing. You are a unique combination of your experience, of your circumstances, and you have a unique path to walk, to explore. And I'm not here to tell you who you should be. I'm just here to share ideas that might help you to better understand who you are. You know, you need to ask those questions within yourself and allow yourself to come up with the answers. You know, I can't tell you what you should do, who you are, and like the best decision. I can only give you ideas that might trigger answers inside of you. And that's the same for me, being able to sit in the discomfort of like, I don't know what I'm doing. What could I do? What do I want to do? How am I going to do it? And figuring it out from there. It's not a straightforward process, but I think it is kind of the whole process of life. Okay, so you don't have to kill the lover girl inside of you. You want to retrain her. Also, being able to differentiate love from romance, they're actually different things in my opinion, and I do want to do a full series on understanding love. It's a huge kind of like topic to take on, and I've discussed it a lot in previous audio podcasts. At the core of it, I think that love is an action. It is not just a feeling. It's kind of like this complex network of feelings and actions, and the expression of love for each person is going to be different, and what is compatible with you is going to be unique. And it's easy for our ego to get attached to the idea of something working out and that being love, and then when that doesn't work out, that being a failure of love or a lack of love, when in reality you can't predict how things are going to go. You can have wishful thinking, but ultimately it's like there's so much that you can't control and that you can't account for, and life is just finding the balance between taking personal responsibility and then being open to whatever comes your way, for better or worse, and then responding accordingly. The book that I think really changed my understanding of love is The Road Less Traveled by M. Scott Peck, which I mention a lot throughout all of my podcast and all of my content. And his definition of love is your willingness to extend yourself in service of someone else's spiritual growth. And this definition is referenced in Bell Hook's All About Love, which is obviously like an iconic text. But I think that The Road Less Traveled has a more sort of practical approach to understanding love, and All About Love is sort of more conceptual. When you can understand love as an action, and I would extend the definition to your willingness to hold someone else's best interests as equally important to your own. Okay, and then finding a middle ground. It's not my needs at the expense of your needs, or your needs at the expense of my needs, but how are we connecting in a way that allows us to both be hot and have fun? And then self-love is your ability to do that with yourself. How are you behaving in a way, treating yourself in a way that is in service of meeting your needs, that is in service of your best interests, and taking responsibility for that in your own specific context. Okay, love is not just falling in love. It's not just lustful longing. It's not limerence. It's not attachment. It's not you do this in order for me to feel a certain way, or I do this in order for you to feel a certain way. It's this exchange. It's a transaction ultimately. And that's like a controversial way of putting it, but every relationship is a transaction. We just have a dirty association with transaction, or a negative association with transaction, because I think especially under capitalism and colonization, there's a winner and a loser when it comes to transactional relationships. But you can have a win-win situation. That is also a transaction, when I have my needs met and you have your needs met. I take responsibility, you take responsibility. I have my reality, you have your reality, and we create a shared reality together. Okay, that is what love is to me. And when you kind of neutralize your understanding of love, and you realize that you can love someone and do loving things for them even when you don't like them in that moment. You know, think about friends that you have a really close bond with, your siblings, or between you and a parent. There is love there when you are willing to hold someone else's best interests as equally important to your own. And that's why people say that being able to love someone is also being able to let them go, because you realize that the path that you're on and the path that they're on is not going in the same direction anymore, and that's okay. And you want the best for them and they want the best for you, and you part with love. So redefining what love is important. separating it from romance, which I think is more a culture and it is more a performance than it is something that is rooted in love. Okay, love is such a loaded word and we use it very flippantly. I think that you do really need to get granular about how you understand concepts around love. If you are a lover girl, if you want to experience love, if you want to learn how to self-love and to receive love from others in healthy ways that allow for you to be hot and have fun and not to be ugly and have a bad time. Because there are times in your life, and it's common, where your definition of love results in you making decisions that end up with you being ugly and having a bad time. And when you realize that's what's happening, you're in a flop era, then you can redefine how you understand love. Then your actions will change and adjust to be in service of you being hot and having fun. Now your definition of love has changed. Now your experience of love is different. So understanding that the way that we live our life, the language and the story we have around it, there are associations with certain words and certain stories that there can be like this cognitive dissonance that we're not even aware of. You think that love should be XYZ on a conscious level, but subconsciously your experience or the story that you tell yourself is actually ABC. It's very different to that, and you need to be aware of how these definitions differ and how you can close the gap between these things. When you understand romance as more of a performance, you realize that you can perform romance in your life even if you are not in a relationship. And you also can develop an awareness around the performance of romance and to what end it has been in service of in your relationships, especially if you're like a woman in heteronormative dating. You kind of realize that a lot of romance and romantic performance from men is actually something that they do for themselves, not for you. Of course, there are times when they do it for you. Of course, there are times when they say that they're doing it for you. But are they really doing it for you? They don't do it for you unless they get something out of it too. And I think a lot of women have a very selfless approach to love in the sense that if you give, you will receive something, but you don't know what it is. You haven't actually defined what it is, and you need to define what it is. Otherwise, someone else will define it for you. You will just assume that the performance of romance is in service of this abstract thing that you're wanting or that you're longing, but you don't know if that person is actually capable of giving you that, or if they even want to give you anything, period. You know, it might just be extractive for them. And understanding self-love, how you give love, how you want to receive love is very important. So I think of love as like a garden. Your life and love is like a garden. And at different stages of our lives, we might not have full awareness of how far the garden stretches or how much personal responsibility or how much intention we're bringing to the cultivation of this garden. Okay, close your eyes and imagine in your mind there is a garden. Think about your relationship with your family. Think about your relationship with your friends. Think about your relationship with your work and with your hobbies and with yourself generally as different parts of this garden. And your romantic relationship is also part of this garden, or your understanding of romantic relationships is part of this garden. And sometimes some areas of our garden are thriving, others are not. And it's not that everything has to be blooming all the time, but just having an understanding of where you're at any point is important in being able to cultivate a healthy and balanced and fruitful and blooming garden. It's normal for there to be certain areas of your garden that you weren't aware of at previous stages of your life, and you assumed that it was okay, and now you know your awareness is like the sun. Where does the sun shine? And sometimes you didn't realize that parts of your garden were being left in darkness, or parts of your garden had been overtaken by weeds. And developing self-awareness and cultivating self-love is taking responsibility for how your garden grows. Everyone has their own garden. The people that you connect with have their own garden too, and when you connect together, it's like you're both cultivating a new garden together, a new section, a new vegetable patch. Me and this friend, me and this lover, me and this working relationship. We have a third reality when you're extending yourself for somebody else. And when you're in a codependent relationship, or when you have a unreasonable, maybe unhealthy sense of longing, it's because you subconsciously are hoping someone else will take responsibility for parts of your garden that you actually need to take self-responsibility for. And this can be really, really subtle. Like, I can't feel happy until I receive validation for my appearance. I can't feel confident unless I receive validation for the work that I do. I can't pursue this hobby unless I receive validation for my intelligence. And it's normal for you to want those things as a person, because you're a human being and we seek social connection, and validation from others is important. But I talk about like the 80-20 rule and the ratio to which we outsource validation and approval from others. You want to be able to self-approve in a way that pushes you forward and allows you to pursue the things that you're interested in, that you're passionate about. And rather than feeling like I can't take a first step until I have 80% of my needs met by somebody else. If you have 80% of your garden being taken responsibility for, and areas that could use a little help, might need a little extra work, you're already doing better than people that are like waiting around for someone to pull out weeds when the shovel is in their own hand. Think about your garden, understand your garden, nurture your garden. And being a lover girl is like being a gardener, you know, nurturing and pulling out weeds, planting new seeds. I talk about hot girl habits. This is what like the meditation, thought dumping, and positive affirmation process is all about. You are becoming aware of the space of your garden. Okay, what thoughts are swirling around and what are the weather conditions? That's meditation. Thought dumping is kind of like pulling out weeds. Okay, you're dumping unnecessary thoughts or important thoughts or just things that you're trying to process. Okay, you're pulling out weeds, you're reworking the soil. And then positive affirmations is like planting new seeds. What do you want? Who are you? How do you define being hot and having fun? You know, writing a script for I am, insert these things, positive things, plant those positive seeds. That's what being a lover girl is about. And understanding that the performance of romance is something that you can do for yourself. It doesn't have to be in a romantic relationship. You might have friends that are very male and romantic culture focused, that you can't enjoy girl dinner with, girl dates. But when you start to take personal responsibility for yourself and being hot and having fun on your own terms, you will naturally start to meet people that are doing the same thing. It can feel really lonely at first, especially if you feel like the people around you are the same as you, but you are starting to want something different and they don't. That can feel really isolating, and something I'll talk about in a future video. But trust that in the process of you adjusting and redefining and retraining your relationship with yourself, you will meet other people that are more in line with that. And there is a sticky middle ground, there is a transition period, there is a feeling of grief or loss when you are having to step away from certain relationships or certain situations that you've become familiar and comfortable with, but ultimately make you ugly and have a bad time versus being hot and having fun. But trust, keep going, one foot in front of the other. Never back down, never give up. Remember that success is preparation plus opportunity. Rather than focusing on the things that you can't predict, like where is my boyfriend? Where is my husband? Where is the possibility for validation and my desirability? Focus on the things that you can actually do, okay? Be the type of person that you would want to date. The fact that you are constantly thinking about other people validating you means that you don't validate yourself enough. You can validate yourself up to a certain point and then enjoy external validation, but for you to be constantly wondering or insecure about who you are, constantly feeling like without other people's approval, you'll die, you're nothing, you're losing, okay? And that's okay, that's normal. It's by design that people feel that way, but that doesn't mean that it can't be redesigned. That doesn't mean it can't be renovated. So your sense of self can be renovated. You can learn to speak to yourself kindly, to treat yourself kindly. That's what romanticizing your life is all about, right? Being intentional with the way that you eat, with the way that you dress, with the way that you look after yourself, with the way that you work, with the way that you communicate. And that takes time. None of these things come easily. Some people have a head start, some people have more resources than others, but these are not necessarily things that require you to drop like 10 bands on a new wardrobe or a new life. Being able to just clean out your wardrobe, getting rid of things that you don't wear, is an act of self-care. You're creating space for new things to enter your life. Being able to look at your diet and think, okay, maybe I can cut down on the processed food and add an apple every other day. that's an act of self-love, and it doesn't require you to spend like thousands of dollars on like a new nose or new boobs, because the problems will still be there because they're all in here. It's all the story that you write yourself. And being able to overhaul a garden takes time. Okay, you don't pull everything out, plant a bunch of seeds, and then now you have a garden tomorrow. Nature needs to take its course. You need to be consistent in the way that you plant seeds, the way that you water them, the way that you nurture them. You don't plant the seed and then dig it up the next day wondering where the flower is. These things take time. Life is in seasons too. The physical world has laws, has cause and effect, and you being able to recenter is an important part of trusting the process and taking responsibility for the things that you can control, and then being open to possibilities that you can't predict for. Hoping for the best, preparing yourself where you can, and knowing that you're going to be okay. One time my therapist told me, she was like, you don't need to be in a constant state of ecstasy. It's not about being like, oh my God, everything's great all the time. It's about being content in who you are. It's about being okay. It's not, oh, I'm okay. It's, I am okay. I am going to be okay. I'm feeling good. I don't need to feel bad. I don't need to feel great. I just feel nice. But as I've gotten older and I've been more intentional with hot girl habits and understanding that it's not about waiting for a time to be happy, waiting for a time to be okay. You can be okay right now. Let's take a deep breath together. In through the nose and out through the mouth. And here we are. You are okay. You are going to be okay. You will figure it out. Instead of catastrophizing, everything's going to blow up. Oh my God, what are we going to do? Okay, it's normal to have thoughts like that. Divert back. But I'll be okay. Whatever happens, I'm going to figure it out. That's what success is about. I talk about how it's not the absence of failure. It's the ability to keep going in spite of it. It's the ability to learn and adapt. That's kind of the only choice you have if you want to be hot and have fun. Okay, you can't just give up. Have you ever met someone that's being hot and having fun that's given up? I haven't. When you are able to do nice things for yourself and for other people, you become more clear on what it is you want from others as well. Because when you don't define that, you'll take anything as a sign of romance. Oh my God, he liked my Instagram story. Does that mean he's in love with me? Okay, he could be liking hundreds of girls' Instagram stories. Oh my gosh, he messaged me at 3 a.m. We're going to get married. No comment, guys. But yeah, how do you define self-love, and how are the people in your life defining it and living by it? What is the example that you're giving? What is the example that they're giving? And where's the compatibility? I think that's just relationships 101, regardless of whether it's romantic or not. Another thing is that you have to be so for real about the comparison and competitiveness with other people when it comes to romance. I think that something I realized recently is that a lot of people only ask you questions about your love life to fill in negative space. It's not like they actually care, or that even if they knew what was going on in your life, it would make a difference to theirs, the same way that what other people are doing doesn't make much of a difference to your life either. So being able to recognize that, okay, if you're not in a relationship right now, it doesn't mean you never will be. And what good does it do to you to feel like if you don't have one now, you can't do the things that you want to do? You have so much more freedom as a single person than you do as someone in a committed relationship. And that's not me discrediting or invalidating the beauty of a healthy committed relationship, but it's okay to not be in that right now. Are you in a healthy committed relationship with yourself? Because honestly, think about if you could list me 5 relationships of people that you personally know, not Instagram influencers, not fictional TV or movie characters, people that you know in your actual life. I want 5 couples that you think have a healthy relationship that is aspirational to you. It's hard for me to come up with 5. I'm not in other people's business like that. You can show me or tell me a general vibe of how they're going, but I don't really know. Someone could say that their relationship is really bad just because they feel guilty that it's actually good in private. Someone could be telling me that their relationship is really great, but they don't even realize they're being abused. No one really knows what's going on until after the fact. Retrospect gives you a kind of perspective that living in the moment doesn't, but to get caught up on other people's review of something that doesn't involve you, their romantic relationship, and then let yourself feel bad about it, Why? Live in the moment. Enjoy being single. One day you'll be in a relationship and you'll realize that you can't really have both. You can't be single and in a relationship at the same time. People try, but you don't get the full experience of either. So it's important to like make the most of it when the opportunity presents itself to you. Once you have nurtured the lover girl within you and you have healthy expressions of it and you've been self-validating and validated by others in that experience of you, you realize that connections of any kind, especially romantic, are up to fate. You don't really control who you're going to know and when, but you can control who you are so that when you come in contact with others, it's more obvious to you who you get along with and who you don't. People that are in relationships that are somewhat aspirational or that speak positively of their relationships, they can't give you a formula for how they met that person. Again, in retrospect, they can say, we met at this place and then we were separated by all these things, but then we came together in this way. They couldn't have predicted it either, but they followed their intuition and they let their love for themselves and for each other guide the decisions that they made and the fate of that relationship. Rather than feeling like you have to optimize connection, understanding that you can cultivate healthy connections with yourself and the relationships you already have, and then you leave space for life to just do its thing. You never know who you're going to meet, how you're going to meet them, but your relationships will be more successful or you'll be hot and having fun if you know how to be hot and having fun yourself. Don't wait for someone else to define that for you because they don't know what you want if you don't know what you want. There's only so much that you can prepare for, and then you just have to be open to the things that you can't predict. And also asking yourself, what does being in a romantic relationship represent to you? What is it that you think it's going to give you that you can't cultivate for yourself? Because the idea that being in a romantic relationship is going to solve all your problems is naive. If anything, you have new problems on top of the ones that you already have. TLDR, there's nothing wrong with being a lover girl. It's part of being a person because you naturally desire connection. You want to love and be loved. That's part of the human experience. But a lot of our ideas around love and romance are formed when we're really young and our frontal lobe is not yet developed. And as your frontal lobe develops, your relationship with everything else develops, and so should your relationship with romance. It doesn't have to be perfect, but being intentional and being compassionate and empathetic and kind to yourself and others is what is most important. And then you develop your discernment as well, okay? It's not a free-for-all. Anybody that shows interest comes into the garden, but it's, okay, I have these standards that I've been cultivating my garden at. Do you seem like someone that can respect that? Yes or no? Do I seem like someone that can respect your garden? Yes or no? These are important questions that we need to face regardless of whether we've done the work or not. So why not just do the work so it's easier when you get there? You know what I mean? Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Let me know your thoughts and feelings on being a lover girl, how your relationship with yourself has changed over time, how your relationship with romance has changed over time. What are you doing to nurture the lover girl inside of you, whether you're in a relationship or not? And yeah, I'll speak to you soon. Follow me on all the things. Like, comment, subscribe. Drink lots of water. Tell your friends and family you love them. Stay hot and having fun, obviously. Yeah. Love you lots, and I'll speak to you soon.